welcome to another video and welcome to my March wrap up. So this video is coming slightly later in the month than normal, mainly because I was away last weekend and didn't film anything, so we're doing it now. Anyway, I read a lot in March. I read a lot. So I'm not going to go through my thoughts on every single book because we will be here for about roughly 25 years. So instead I'm going to actually use a format which I am copying from Meg with Books, which is I'm going to run through all of the books and give you my ratings on them, and I'm then going to just discuss in more detail my hits, my misses and my surprises. So I'm not going to go through every single book in a full amount of detail. But let's first of all go through the stats. I'm going to scooch over. I don't know where the weird Australian accent just came from there. I've got story graph in front of me and I'll be putting these graphs up on screen. So in March, I read 24 books. Like I said, I read a lot, which was 6,529 pages, which actually was only a little bit more than February. I think February was like 6.3 or something like that. And I listened to 10.1 hours of audiobooks. Where's my next book? To genres. A lot of fantasy, a lot of sci-fi. Now, these two are both because I read a full graphic novel series, which is classed as both fantasy and sci-fi. I'm personally classing it as sci-fi rather than fantasy. So I think I actually only read, looking at this, I think I read 3 books that I would class as fantasy and 10 books that I would class as sci-fi, which is probably the most sci-fi I've ever read in a month. But again, that's because I read a full graphic novel series. And in terms of star ratings, my average rating was 3.89. So 1 2.5, 4 3 stars, 2 3.5 stars, 10 4 stars, 2 4.5 and 3 5 stars. I don't remember what my were there. Let's go through all of the books that I read and I will give you my ratings for each one. Let's just continue to scroll back down to the beginning. So I'm going to start off with the 3 books that I read that were sent to me by publishers. These are 3 that I have been working on this month. So as usual, I'm not going to give you a star rating on any of these, but I will just give you a very brief kind of synopsis on them. So I read Every Time We Say Goodbye by Natalie Jenner. This one is a historical fiction set in 1950s Italy, around the Italian cinema world. This one is one that I'm working on, and thank you to both Natalie Jenner and Alison and Busby for sending it to me. Next I've got The Three-Body Problem by Cezanne Liu, translated by Ken Liu. This one is a sci-fi that is, it's a Chinese sci-fi that's been translated into English. It has just been made into a Netflix show. I will say the show is inspired by the book, not an adaptation of the book. It is not like a true adaptation of the story. This one is a very science-heavy sci-fi, and I'm actually not going to tell you very much about what this one is about, just because I think going into it blind is one of the best ways to enjoy this book. And then I read Moral Injuries by Christine Watson. This one is a medical thriller following 3 doctors who have been best friends for 25 years. They met in medical school. When they were in medical school, there was an event that happened when they were at a party, and they have kept a secret from the world, just the 3 of them, for this last 25 years. However, now their children have gone to a party and something similar has happened and everything is coming out to life. So again, thank you very much to Orion for sending me this one. I forgot to say this one was from Hedda Zeus, so thank you very much, Hedda Zeus. So again, I'm not going to go through any ratings or anything on these ones because, like I said, I have been paid to work on these. So they are going to one side. Right, let's get my list up and go through all of the books that I read and their ratings. So I read The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren, which I gave 3 stars. None of these are in order. Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan, which I gave 3.5 stars. The Worst Wingman Ever, which was an audiobook, one of the Audible short stories, which I gave 3.5 stars. Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida Abiki Imende, which I gave 4 stars. Happy Place by Emily Henry, which I gave 4 stars. Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts, which I gave 3 stars. I'm going to come back to all of the comics. Sharp Ends by Joe Abercrombie, which I gave 4 stars. Scroll through all of the comics. Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerry Maniscalco, which I gave 2.5 stars. The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace, which I gave 4 stars. The Island by C.L. Taylor, which I gave 4 stars. Hooked by Emily McIntyre, which I gave 3 stars. And Friends, Lovers and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry, which I gave 4 stars. The books that I skipped over was Saga, all 9 volumes. I'm going to talk about them as one entity. And in fact, we're going to go into the next section, which is talking about my hits, my misses and my surprises. Saga was a hit. Saga was a hit. So of these 9 volumes, everything got between 4 and 5 stars. I think, well, all of my 5 stars this month were from this series. Most of the rest were 4.5. I think there was maybe 1, possibly 2 that I gave 4 stars. But I loved this series so much. I was planning on only reading like the first, I read, basically this came out of my series pot, and I was planning on reading a volume a day over the week. So I thought, oh well, I'll get up to volume 6 or 7 and you know, I'll read the rest some other time. That didn't happen. I got up to volume 6 and then I binge read the others and finished the whole series. I have no words. So Saga, if you don't know, follows our 2 main characters here, Alana and Marco. They come from warring worlds. So Mark and their species have been at war for generations, and each side has kind of pulled other planets across the universe in. So pretty much this is a huge intergalactic war. However, these 2 fell in love, had a little baby, Hazel, and they are now hunted across the universe. There are multiple different people who are hunting them down. I'm going to have to put this stack down because it's very heavy. There are multiple different people hunting them across the universe to try and kill this family because they exist, basically. Because they don't want people to know that these 2 sides could get on, that they could have some similarities. It would defeat the whole intergalactic war effort if people knew that the 2 sides could get on. And this series goes, it's just beautiful, following this family, and we meet some absolutely incredible characters. Some of my favourites are Isabel the Ghost. I adore her. I think she is fantastic. I really like as well, this, I'm going to just try and find a group here. I love these ones. So there's so many other characters that I love. We've also got up here, Lion Cat is incredible. Basically there is barely a single character in here that I don't like. I think they're all incredible. I think this story is so detailed, it is so emotional. I cried multiple times, I laughed out loud multiple times. I have taken quite a few photos of like snippets that I have shared with people. I just think that this story is incredible. It has been continued, so there is now a volume 10 and 11 out. I don't believe we've got any more than that. I am going to not continue for now, just because I think that the reading experience I had of these 9, of reading them all back to back, was absolutely amazing. And I would like to do the same with the sort of second era. I don't want to be reading them like, you know, one book at a time and then waiting 6 months for the next one to come out. So I'm going to wait and read era 2 when they all arrive. But Saga, biggest hit of the month, absolutely obsessed. If you haven't read it, go read it. Next, I'm going to go on to my disappointments of the month. So these ones, I've got 3 books here that disappointed me. So starting off with The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I gave this one 3 stars, but I expected more. So this isn't a bad book. I enjoyed it. I have now bought, well, technically the prequel, the book that comes before this one in the series. I think this was part of the thing. This came in a Luma crate. I didn't realise this was book 2 in a series, because my assumption, incorrectly as it happens, was that if a book is in a book box, it will be book 1 in a series, you know, or a standalone. I didn't think they would send the second book in a series, but they did. So they are interconnecting standalones, but it did mean that there were quite a few times when, sort of with character development and stuff, where I was like, well, I feel like I should know more about this situation, but I don't. So this is in fact the sequel to, I can't see it on my shelves now, it's a sequel to the Soulmate Equation? The Soulmate Equation. And I imagine that the Soulmate Equation lays out a lot of the groundwork in terms of this app that has been developed, which in book 2, The True Love Experiment, they're using that same app to make a game show, or like a reality TV kind of show. And I liked this one, but I just expected more. I expected, this is the first book I've read by Christina Lauren, and I was expecting it to be, you know, a 4-star at least. I was expecting to be, you know, really, really enjoy it. I hear so many good things about Christina Lauren. So this one just disappointed me because I just felt like it didn't quite hit how I expected it to. I will read The Soulmate Equation, and I will read more by Christina Lauren, because I do feel like it was as much a me issue as it was a book issue in terms of my enjoyment on this one. I think that I would like to read something else by them and see actually if it is the authors that I don't enjoy, or if this one was just a miss. My next disappointment is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. Again, I gave this one 3 stars. This one is a TikTok book that all of the dark romance TikTok girlies are obsessed with, and I am not one of them. So I read this one and I read Desperate Measures this month, and that has made me realise that actually this kind of dark romance, kind of fairy tale-esque, is not for me. I don't enjoy it. I thought the characters in this one were stupid. Their decisions made no sense. I just was not into it. Now, this isn't to say that like all of the kink and the dark romantic elements, so like especially around the sex and the kink, fine with all of that, no issues. Same with Desperate Measures, no issues with any of that. But it was the interpersonal interaction, let's say, around it, the way that and actually this goes, I could use the exact same words for Desperate Measures, let's be honest, with both of them, how the female main character is basically kidnapped and held hostage and yet falls in love very, very quickly within like half an hour. No. Stockholm Syndrome, but also no. There's also in fact I'm talking about Desperate Measures as well. In both the books there's the virginity trope, which I just don't think is necessary. And if you are going to use the virginity trope, use it to progress the plot, not just because again, in both of these books, the main character was, known to be a virgin, which again, first of all, not a big deal. But it then was, they just had sex super, super quickly and, kind of jumped on the male main character immediately, which meant that whole introduction of them being a virgin didn't actually progress or add anything to their character development or make the plot move forward. So what was the point of it? So yeah, I think dark romance is not for me. I have now unhauled this series and I actually need to take it to the post office today. I have sold this one. And the third book that was a disappointment this month, Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerri Maniscalco. So this is the second book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I read Kingdom of the Wicked when it came out in 2020, and looking back on my Goodreads review, I gave it 3.5 stars, which, again, when I take into account the fact that in 2020, 2021, I was a very, very generous rater, and I now need to kind of pretty much take off a star to get what I would now realistically rate most books, feels right. So I gave this one 2.5 stars. I just struggled my way through it. I wanted to finish it to decide if it did, because there were so many glowing reviews. There were so many people who didn't like Kingdom of the Wicked but loved Kingdom of the Cursed. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what book they read, but I want this one. This one had lots of really lovely scenes that were put next to each other and then bound up and made into a book. There was no plot to this one, and any plot line there was made no sense. There were plot holes you could literally drive a monster truck through. It just was quite ridiculous. And again, just the things that the characters did not make sense. For example, there is a scene in here where our main character is told that there's a hunt going on and that she can take a horse and join in. And she goes on, "Oh, I can't ride a horse. I've never ridden a horse." And the devil that's talking to her goes, "Oh, maybe you can." Wink, wink. So she then steals this horse and runs away to another demon's realm, where she is held in the prisons for about 2 hours. And then she's let go and returns back to the first demon's realm. And nothing's mentioned of this. No one goes, "Where have you been?" Or, "Oh, you got caught." No one mentions anything. No one seems to be aware that she ran away, got held in prison for 2 hours and released. And as far as I can tell, the only purpose of that scene was to show that she could ride a horse. So that whole scene was redundant in my view. But yeah, and that is just one example of the just poor writing in this book. So I have DNF'd the series. I am selling this series. I've already sold book 1. I'm selling book 2 and 3 at the moment. And having now DNF'd 2 Kerri Maniscalco series in the last 6 months, this will be the end of my road with Kerri Maniscalco. She is not an author for me. Now to finish off, I've got 2 books that were surprises. So these are books that I wasn't really sure what to expect going in, but they surprised me and I enjoyed them a lot more than I thought I would. The first one is The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. This is a poetry collection. I don't tend to read a lot of poetry, but this was really, really gorgeous. So I gave this one 4 stars. And this is a collection sort of showing a woman's growth from a child to a young adult to a mother, all told in poetry, all has this almost fairy tale-esque tone to it. And it's just I really enjoyed it. I read this in one sitting. I again shared quite a few of these poems with friends because like this is beautiful writing. I can see myself referring back to this book multiple times. I think it was absolutely stunning, so do recommend if you want a poetry book. Also it's like 150 pages and it's poetry. The poems are also very short, so it's a really nice quick read if you for like a read along or something. And then my second surprise of the month is Jade Fire Gold by June C. Altan. Now I gave this one 3.5 stars, which might sound like a lower end of the ratings, but I genuinely had a good time reading this book. It is a YA fantasy. I don't read YA fantasy anymore. I think I got this book, when did it come out? 2020? Maybe 2021? 2021. This came in a fairy loot box and it didn't really appeal to me. And the only reason that I have kept it since 2021 is because the author is from Singapore and I'm doing a challenge where I want to read a book from an author from every country in the world. So this one, quite conveniently, crossed off Singapore on my list. Lovely. I would have unhauled this book years ago if it hadn't been for that. But it came up in my book box battle. I thought this would be one that'd be at the bottom of the pile that I definitely wouldn't read. It actually was top of the pile. It's the most intriguing first chapter and I loved it. I feel I'm really, really intrigued by the ending. The ending is very open. This one, I believe it's been written as a standalone and I don't believe that there is any second book due, but the ending is open enough that there could be a sequel, which I will gobble up. Yeah, this is a book that I never thought I would enjoy, but I really, really did. And again, yes, I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't a 5-star read. It's not a new favourite. But honestly, I thought I'd never read this at all. Or if I did, it would be maybe a DNF or like a 2-star. I could have rated it higher, but I did feel like, again, with a lot of YA fantasy, the things that I don't like about YA fantasy are prevalent in here. So the really weirdly awkward love like triangles that they always seem to have, the again slight lack of logic in certain places, but really recommended it. I don't think I've actually told you what this one is about. So this one follows two characters who both possess magic. Magic is illegal in this world. Alton is a lost heir. His father, who was the emperor, was killed as a child and Alton's been presumed dead. And Arn is an orphan who has got no family. But they kind of end up teaming up because they have to try and find this weapon which will overthrow the new emperor who is in control. Really, really enjoyed this one. So that is my March wrap up. Like I said, I read a lot of books. I think this video has been plenty long enough. And I had a good time. Let me know what you read in March. Let me know your views on anything that I have read. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.